Well, I do trust that your week is going well and all continues to progress as we go through all of this interesting process of getting opened up again. And now we're even, looking forward to the schools being open, and we do pray all will go well for the teachers, for all those in administration, and for the dear students. I just did a follow-up to this parable of the great banquet, which just shows us the grace of God is extended to everyone. Even, people I like, people I don't like, people who like me, people who don't like me, whatever. It's just a wonderful message of the grace of Jesus Christ. And one of the ways that, I was stretched in this was way back in the 80s. When this Cold War was still on, the Berlin Wall was still up, Nelson Mandela was still in prison, and Ann and I was in the country of Angola, and a friend of ours who was the head of the health department for the province we lived in, Dr. Philippe Matuba, and Dr. Philippe came to me and he says, "Paul, I want to have a Bible study at your house, and I want to invite some of my friends." And I said, "Sure, by all means." I couldn't quite figure out why he wanted to have it at my house and not his house. It was sort of a much nicer house, but I said, "Sure, we'll put on the tea and we had them." So the night came, and in walked these various individuals along with Dr. Philippe. And I realized, okay, we've got an interesting gang here that are coming for the Bible study. And I had said to Dr. Philippe, "Hey, will you lead? And, what do we want to study?" And he looked at me sort of like I didn't know what I was doing, which may very well have been true. And he says, "Well, just read the Bible and let the Holy Spirit lead." And I said, "Of course, that's what we'll do." But what I realized is the first man through the door did not speak Portuguese. The Angola's a Portuguese. He spoke Spanish. He was a Cuban. The Cubans had 40,000 military personnel there. They had Cuban pilots there, tank drivers, military instructors, and really kids that were fighting. And this gentleman walked in, and he was a Cuban doctor. The next guy walks in, doesn't speak Portuguese, he speaks English. And I knew the only English-speaking people, most English-speaking people, were either expats here working, under the government, or they were members, almost, in a clandestine way, of the African National Congress, the military wing, and they had bases in the south of Angola, and they were running some of their military incursions into South Africa from there. He was a member of the African National Congress military wing. The next guy walks in. He also speaks English, but with a different accent. He's from Namibia. He's Lutheran. And he is part of SWAPO. SWAPO, Southwest Africa People's Organization. They were committed to the overthrow of, the South African government, which had taken control of Namibia. And when I say the South African government, I'm talking about the apartheid white government. And so here I was in a Bible study with people whose politics they would say were Marxist. Now, I also learned soon that there were and they did not, they were Marxist in their politics. What they didn't buy into in Africa was the atheism. It was very difficult for an African to believe there wasn't personified evil and that there wasn't a real God or gods. But anyway, so here walk in these guys, and their role every day of the week is to design some sort of military harm to, they believe, the evils of the apartheid regime in South Africa. And how they did that, I never inquired of them. But what they wanted to do was they wanted to study the Bible, they wanted to pray to Jesus, and they wanted to sing traditional hymns. So my mind was stretched. Mine was challenged as to think, okay, so this is what these people do. This is who these people are. And Jesus has invited them to the banquet. And I just like, wow, that's quite an interest. And I was stretched in that. And I had to, and it turns out the African National Congress guy, he had been confirmed as an Anglican. The SWAPO guy was a baptized Lutheran. And the Cuban described himself as an evangelical, which I later discovered what he was really saying was he follows Jesus and he's not a Roman Catholic. And that's the way they defined it in Angola. And so there it was, just a great illustration for me of being stretched in it. Is there more stretching that has to happen for me? Absolutely. And maybe there are individuals within you and you just look at them and you go, I despise them. They are powerful people. They are the rich people. They have done harm to people. But maybe that's the ones Jesus also wants to call them. Jesus also wants to invite them. Just something to think about as you continue on in your week, and I just pray that God will continue to bless you as this week unfolds.